Welcome to Robert Bellissimo at the Movies, where we explore all things cinema. I want to welcome for the first time to the channel, KB from KB Loves Movies. KB, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me, sir. It was a pleasure to have you on my channel for the conversation, so I feel
Yeah.
like I'm paying back the honor to you.
Well, I appreciate it, and yeah, I really enjoy your show, and we had a great long chat on the conversation last time. So if
Yes.
people want to see that, I'll leave the link in the description box for where KB had me on his show. But today we're talking Belle de Jour,
Mm.
directed by Louis Bunuel. I'll read a brief synopsis. Beautiful young housewife Severine, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Cerise, cannot reconcile her masochistic fantasies with her everyday life alongside dutiful husband Pierre. When her love-struck friend Henri mentions a secretive high-class brothel run by Madame Anet, Severine begins to work there during the day under the name Belle de Jour. But when one of her clients grows possessive, she must try to go back to her normal life. So it seems when it comes to Buñuel, you you
Hmm.
never know because it's in this film you don't really know if this is all a dream or what have or a surreal fantasy or what have you.
Yes.
But we'll dig into that. Do you remember the first time you saw the film and what you initially thought?
I remember actually I love to talk about gateway films, and this was my gateway film into Buñuel. So it's an interesting entry point into his filmography. And of course, I've seen others since then. Viridiana, Exterminating Angel. That's probably
Yeah,
one of, talk about being the master of the ambiguous. That is
yeah.
probably one of my favorites because you really don't at any point look at it and say, what exactly is this about, and be able to break it down. So even in this film, which we'll get into, I'm sure, there's a level of ambiguity there
Yeah.
that is just so key for his movie. So I think, yes, that was the first one, and that just led me down a path of going into his other movies.
I usually off the top will also say the writer and the crew and the cast, which I forgot, but I'll do it now. So yeah, directed of course by Louis Bunuel. He co-wrote the script with Jean-Claude Carriere. I hope I have that right. The cinematographer was Sacha Virny, and it starred Catherine Deneuve, Jean Sorel, Michel Piccoli, Genevieve Page, Pierre Clementi. Um, yeah, I love the cast in this film. Great performances all around.
Mhm.
So what to you? What is Buñuel and what are they? What's he exploring in this film? I mean, what are some of your takeaways?
Oh, well, I had to watch it again just for a refresher, and I honestly never needed a reason to come back to this one. Besides being his most popular film, probably his highest, most successful film, I think the thing that I remember most is that whole Madonna complex,
Mm,
the split between the mother horror and how well she carries herself in her marriage and publicly compared to her dreams, her fantasies, dare I say it, her kink,
mm,
and how she goes about exploring that. Or, as you said, it could be a whole dreamscape being represented in the movie. So I think it just represents something that was probably very taboo in the time, even for international audiences,
yeah.
but it's a staple in the sense of the the things that are hidden, but the dark things that are hidden inside the mind, but when given a chance to explore how it can be pleasurable but also dangerous.
Mm. Well said. Yeah, he really gets at the fact that sort of eroticism takes place in the imagination
Hmm.
uh so often. And of course in Severine's case, and she, of course, as we said, she also goes by the name Belle de Jour. She's like a masochist, so
Hmm.
she can't explore this side of herself with her husband And
Right.
so she takes this job at this brothel in order to explore her fantasies. And actually, one thing that I was watching on the Criterion channel, which is probably also, do you have this on Blu-ray?
I have the DVD.
Oh, you have the
That's why
DVD.
yeah, I didn't even come down and like I have most of my DVDs put away. You can see behind me, those
Yeah.
are mostly Blu-rays and 4Ks back there. But I was like, I could go shelving through my boxes of my collection, or I could just stream it
That's okay. Yeah,
and
yeah.
put up with a few commercials. But I ended up streaming it. But yes, the thing that I find most fascinating is within the title itself, beauty of the day, but it's
Mm,
also a paradox to, a lady of the night,
right.
which is kind of like representing almost like a yin yang duality to her personality, even
Yeah.
though she's doing the lady of the night things in the day, and the rest of her life is this prim and proper beauty, as the case
Mm,
may be, with her class and stature.
yes. Yes, absolutely. And the co-writer of the film was saying that like the book is it's not a surreal book. And so a lot, they obviously, because this is Buñuel, they made it a surrealist story.
Hmm.
But a lot of the fantasies we see, like off the top, like when she's on the carriage, and then the man and her husband throw her off, and they start whipping her, and then later throwing mud at her, and all these things. These were fantasies that women actually told them that they had, because they talked
Mm.
to, interviewed a lot of women, and getting their fantasies, like these sort of masochistic fantasies, which they shot, in the film, and they work so beautifully. But yeah, we see that, she I don't even know if she could satisfy these fantasies by going to the brothel, because
No.
because like getting whipped and throwing mud at her, it's not as though anyone's really doing that, but she's able to uh on some level explore it. Like for example, that big heavy set guy she's with the first time, because initially she's so guilty about going there, as we see, and
Yeah.
she's trying to run out of there. She's fighting against her urges, and then as soon as he pushes her on the bed, that's when she sort of relaxes, right?
She gives
Um,
into it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and then the other guy, he's also a heavy heavy set guy, the Asian gentleman
Yeah.
who we see, he has like this box, and he's showing, and we don't see what's in it, but it doesn't
Mm-mm.
really matter. It's just obviously it's something erotic, some kink.
Yeah.
And even with him, after he leaves, there's blood on this towel, so it's like, well, what, we don't see what happened, but like there's something, there's always just a little bit of violence that she's able to explore. But then at the when we see Pierre Clemente's character later, he looks like at one point he's about to like beat her up. And actually, Sam Deegan, who's a writer I admire, she was saying like he's so ahead of his time in terms of exploring masochism, because it's, so many films you see like people getting turned on by being like hit repeatedly, and like that's not the case. Like
Yeah.
she stops it when he's about to, and she like really holds her ground and says like, no, that's not going to happen, right? So
Hmm.
it's not about getting like beat up and like really physically abused, but it's just there's just an element of violence to what she literally explores, as opposed to like obviously the first fantasy is quite violent with the whipping and stuff like that. Was
Yeah.
that your experience as well?
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think the difference is in her dreams and her fantasies, as the case may be, there's an element of control. And I
Yeah,
think what she experiences at the brothel is that she's not in control. So it's almost accepted when it gets a little bit violent, but then at the same time, when it goes to the levels beyond her control, it's once again unpleasurable. It's
right.
not desired. So we even see if you look at the way the film begins and compared to the end, it's almost like a wraparound.
Yeah, it's the
It's
same
back.
with the
It's back
carriage.
to yeah.
Yeah,
It's back to the carriage. It's back to the fantasies,
yeah.
and in a sense, it's back to control, because even though we have sort of like a ambiguous but dire ending, we have control of her being in control of her fantasies or her dreams, because that's my question for you. Just to skip ahead, is the ending dream, or is it a sense of control in her fantasy and a daydream, or is it actual reality?
It's so hard to pin down what,
Hmm.
because it's like you can read it so many different ways.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, yeah, because I mean we can set this up a little bit, but she for people tuning in to refresh their memory, or if they haven't seen it, just to set up the scene, is her husband is shot by someone that is really, he's like a gangster, like
Yeah,
I
like
always
a
say,
small town thug.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And so he becomes like obsessed with her, and like there's this real mutual attraction that goes beyond the transactional sex that she's having with her other clients. Um, but he becomes quite possessive of her and jealous of her husband, and so he shoots her husband, and then he is, it looks to be blind and paralyzed at the end,
Hmm.
and so she's taking care of him, and then suddenly we see the fantasy, well, see, I'm seeing it as a fantasy when he suddenly just gets up off the wheelchair and everything is fine.
Yeah.
To me, that sort of suggests that everything has been a fantasy, that like, no, he didn't really get shot. It questions
Hmm.
everything about the brothel. Like, did any of these things happen? And then
Yeah.
she looks out the window, and there's the carriages with the bells ringing, just like we saw in the first
Yeah.
scene. And so you're thinking, like, is this like, is it a good thing that this is all, perhaps if we're reading it as all as a fantasy, maybe it's a good thing that these things are only fantasies,
Right.
and so like he didn't get shot, or did he actually get shot, and now she's going to escape into her fantasies as a way to
Right.
continuously explore it.
There
That's the
truly
thing.
is no answer
There's no
to it.
answer. Yeah.
It's just interpretation. You mentioned the bells. The bells are almost Pavlovian. Anytime you hear them, there's like a separation from quote reality and fantasy just by the indication of those, what are they, like sleigh bells
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
carriage.
Yeah.
So they almost seem like a like I said, some type of Pavlovian indicator of a fantasy world happening again. And it'd be interested if the whole thing is one big dream, because then like the brothel itself becomes like a sign of things like the mud and the
Mm.
whipping in the forest. It just becomes like a symbol of like social decorum between this, I'll use the term again, prim and proper reality and the world that she would like to fall into for the satisfaction of her fantasies, whether it's in control. Sometimes she doesn't want to be in control, maybe.
Right.
And maybe that's what the brothel is meant to represent if we take the aspect of the whole thing being a fantasy.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. And the way Bunuel just he's playing with this. He's having fun with this
Absolutely.
between
Yeah.
the screenwriting, the way it's shot, the choice of lenses, whether things are close up on her. I think you mentioned it's a woman who was the cinematographer for this one.
I believe so. Sasha Vierny.
Yeah, so with
Sasha
that
could
name,
be either male or
yeah,
female.
male or female,
I can quickly look it up because I'm
there's no
curious.
there's
No, it's a
no
guy.
type
It's a
of.
guy.
Oh, well, I give him credit because there's no type of salacious focus on her as a woman or
Right.
a body. Most of the times, if we see her partially nude, it's from her back.
From the back. Yeah.
That's not the point of this. The point is the exploration of these fantasies, which is why in my opinion, I think the whole movie is one big fantasy or one extension of one big fantasy
Yeah,
to,
yeah,
the fantasy of the masochism, the fantasy of having a dangerous man to counter the safe haven of having a successful and well-to-do husband, and just being able to come back out of that and going back to that lifestyle. Even having we haven't spoken about him yet, but what's his name? Luson, who comes to visit the business partner of her husband, and
Oh,
even
Michel Piccoli's character, yeah, and
yeah,
Henri Husson, yeah,
yeah, even him as a person who is kind of like interested in her,
yeah,
it all feeds into the fantasy. So
yeah,
it's just interesting and it's playful. If you could
very
get
playful.
past the masochism and all that and see it as just like this fantasy world, it's a very playful film.
Yeah, well, a lot of it is very humorous because a lot of those um clients have these role plays that they want the women
Hmm.
to go through, and they're hilarious. Like the guy who wants
Yeah.
to get like whipped and stomped on.
Victor. Yes, I love Victor.
Oh my God, it's so funny. And then of course the other guy who's like puts her in a casket and wants her to be his like dead daughter,
Yeah.
and then he goes out of frame and then she looks down and she looks like shocked, like clearly he's masturbating or something.
Hmm.
It's like all of these like very funny and strange and,
Scenarios.
even her fantasies to an extent are funny, like the
Hmm.
and again, it sounds horrible to describe someone as being whipped, but again, it's not depicted as like super violent. It's not like we're seeing blood or
Right.
anything. The throwing of the mud, and even later, which is interesting, she has a couple of fantasies that involve Henri. The first one being when they're under the table and it starts shaking and he like breaks the champagne bottle.
Hmm.
Clearly they're having sex, or it's like a fantasy of having sex with
And
him.
lily seeds. He's
Yes,
giving her lily seeds.
yes, yes,
It's it's just so interesting. And you mentioned the one gentleman who wanted to have her in the casket and all that stuff. And that's even a playful nod to Viridiana,
yes, yes,
because the
yes.
similarity between the blonde-haired woman and being in that is the poster art on the Criterion, is just seeing her in that similar pose. So you're reflecting to another movie in his
Yeah,
catalog from what, 6 years
yeah,
earlier.
yeah. I think that was
So
60, 61. Yeah,
yeah, the whole thing is very, very playful.
yeah,
And like I said, I love returning to it. So when you said that we should discuss this, I was very interested in doing it because it's, depending on how you take it, it can be a very playful movie.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. And like you just to extend on what you said earlier, it's true. Like you don't see an ounce of nudity, you don't see a sex
Mm-mm.
scene.
It's not,
Uh
that's not what it's about.
no, no, not at all. So
Yeah,
it's incredible how like it has a lot of eroticism in it, but you don't see a thing. Um
right.
it's incredible filmmaking. But yeah, touching on Michel Piccoli a little bit, like he seems to have an understanding of what she like instinctual understanding of what she's about. Very early on she's like, he talks about like how she wants like a double life, and again that adds to the surrealism because how could he really even
Hmm.
know that,
Right.
um and he tells her about the brothel. He shows up at the brothel. It's interesting, once he shows up she starts to get really angry at him, and I thought maybe that had to do with her own guilt about now the fantasies are becoming too close,
Right.
or the fact that he was the one that suggested that she go there, and so she feels like it's out of her control that she went there, and it's like
Hmm.
part of her. Like we even see early on, like she gradually gets comfortable with it, but at first she's like, she goes home after her first client, she takes a shower, she throws her bra in the
Burns the
fire,
clothes.
burns everything.
Yeah.
So which also goes to the Catholic guilt, which is
Oh
part of
yeah.
this as well, which we'll touch on. But I thought that was interesting that she suddenly just starts to get angry at him, and I thought it was like that thing of like, you told me about this place, and now I'm here, and it's partly your fault, or it's your.
Yeah.
What was that, your reading, or did you have a different reading about that?
No, I totally agree. It's almost like there needed to be a scapegoat for this duality that she's starting to enjoy more and more, and it showed up in his character.
Right.
So even by the end, it's almost like that the anger goes away, and now she's just accepting of whatever the situation is. And when he leaves, there's almost like a shame. She doesn't want him to see
Yeah.
her and she hides. But I'm just thinking back on his previous films, like I mentioned, Exterminated Angel,
Yeah.
and I mean, there's always a satirical type of
Yes.
view when it comes to Buñuel when he looks at like rich or upper class members of society. So his most of his career, there's some type of aspect of satirizing that group
Yes.
of people. So we see the once again duality between the boredom and st I don't know, sterility of her life, her everyday life,
Yeah.
and how that compares to the brothel and the customers and how it kind of serves between her fantasies and her real life. So there's that duality, but once again, just playing with it, just making light of it, and almost giving her character, giving her a way out to have both. And
Mm.
many women don't get that opportunity to have both. Many people, I won't say just women, many people don't have the opportunity to have both. And he gives that to her in this. And the only way it would come to an end is through or via tragedy. But then
Right.
that just starts, once again, like we mentioned with the sleigh bells, it just starts the fantasy world, kind of like a reset,
Mm.
starting it all over again. I just love what he does with that
Hmm.
view of not to say he was poor himself
Right.
with the success over his career, but it's very easy. It's kind of like I'm a big Hitchcock fan. It's very easy to see his opposition to law enforcement and how you see that, and police are crooked or police are wrong or they can be corrupted. You see that throughout his filmography. So it's almost like you get to know the individuals through their work because art
Mm.
is always reflective of the way someone feels or their position in life, whether it's political, social, whatever it is. You see aspects of that. So we see with Hitchcock his opposition to law enforcement, and with Buñuel we see him as like a lifelong satirist
Yeah.
to the upper class, the bourgeoisie, as it
Yeah.
might be.
Yeah. Very well said. Very well said. It's and yeah, he's certainly saying that, here the upper class, they have in this film, like, they have all this money. They have, the husband's like a surgeon, and yet they have no, they seem to not be free, like the
Hmm.
marriage, there's communication issues. She can't have what she wants with him. His best decision about everything is to go on a vacation. He thinks that fixes everything.
Even to
um
the end.
yeah, right. Even into the fantasy. Yeah, even the fantasy at the end, and
Hmm.
and and so I think he was saying that, like, oh, the upper class, they're not free. Like, they're like,
Yeah.
look at this. They can't, because of their position in life, they can't explore truly who they are, which is true in her case, for sure, because it's, she holds it down to that great. I love the wardrobe. The
Yeah.
wardrobe.
Oh,
It's amazing.
um, Yves Saint Laurent.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and beautiful, beautiful costume design on
yeah.
mostly on Deneuve, but also you see it through other characters as well. Like I forgot his name again. The gentleman who comes to visit, he
Oh,
has
on
this
Henri.
yeah, he has this beautiful overcoat and the cashmere scarf that he just like casually just throws over his shoulder each time he puts it on. and you could just see the quality of the costume design in this one.
Yeah.
But she's treated like a princess when
Yeah.
it comes to her outfits and everything. It's beautiful down to the glasses,
Yeah. Yeah.
the sunglasses that she wears as kind of like no one can tell it's me. You're quite beautiful, lady. We know it's you, even behind those large glasses. So you think your shades are doing something, but it's not hiding who you
No.
are. It's beautiful though.
Even Marcel Pierre Clemente's got great wardrobe in this.
Mm,
That long black leather coat.
yeah.
He's like this. I love how the film sort of turns into a gangster film at a certain point because you're like, what's going on
Yes.
here? And we see like him and his partner like beating this guy up, and then we see another scene where there's like a knife comes out in a diner and they almost get into a fight with these guys. I think he was just
Hmm.
trying to tell you who this guy, what he's up
Yeah.
to, and
Established character.
what he's
Yeah.
capable of, but none of it feels uneven. Like it just flows beautifully. Like it doesn't you don't start to think, well, why is he suddenly doing this? You
Yeah.
understand that he's telling you what this guy's about and that he's dangerous.
But he had style with it. He had a walking
Yeah, he
cane.
does.
He had this,
Yes.
like you mentioned, this long flowing leather jacket with the boots
Yeah.
and the menacing metal grill from getting his teeth knocked out.
Oh,
Everything
right,
about him
right.
had style, but it was almost like a dark, menacing style. So it was just such a dichotomy between that and Deneuve's character because she's light, she's airy. Even when she wears the bright colors and everything, still she could wear all black and it's still like she her beauty just stands out in a way that they could both be wearing black, but you could tell the difference in characters just by the way they were dressed and the way they appear. It was a beautiful
Yeah.
aspect to the movie.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's interesting that she really falls for him because he's not like he's totally different than her
That's
husband. And
why.
exactly, right? And he's not even very nice to her. Like he's like,
Mm-mm.
he doesn't like her birthmark. He made dresses and it's like meanwhile he's got like a big scar on his back and he's got like
Mhm.
gold teeth and all this stuff.
Is that from a
Um
knife? Maybe.
yeah. Yeah.
Ambiguity, once again,
Yeah.
ambiguity wins in this movie time and time again.
Yeah, absolutely. But her husband, it's interesting in the first scene between them, he's aware of these fantasies because she's like, "Oh, I had the carriage dream or fantasy again." And he goes, he goes, "Oh, the carriage one," So that's
Hmm.
something I picked because I mean, I've seen it before, but I watched it a couple of times back to back for today and I was like, "Oh, it wasn't until I saw it again that I picked up on that line. That's the thing with
Yeah,
this film is like it's so nuanced, it's so layered. And I'm like, he's aware of this and he seems unhappy with it. And again, he doesn't he's like this he's sort of he's a very, very handsome guy, but there's something very
yes,
sort of plain about him at the same
yeah.
time. Like he doesn't have that sense of like danger or edge that Marcel has.
Hmm.
And he just doesn't this is not something he can explore with her and vice versa. And so everything is just about, well, let's take a holiday, maybe that way. And he takes her on this like
Yeah.
boring cold holiday like in somewhere.
Well, she wants that,
Yeah.
It's I could say I've been married 30 years
Wow.
happily. And I can say that after a while, you get to know each other. You get to know the things that makes each other happy, what you would expect. Like if I gave my wife the option of a beach vacation or a mountain vacation, to use example from the movie, I shouldn't even ask. She wants to go to the beach. She wants to go to a tropical island. She wants, clear waters and clean sands and all that. So even if they were married, say 5 or 7 years for the 7 year itch, as it may be, you know your partner in that
Right.
respect. So you know the things that they have nightmares about time and time again if it stays with them. And I guess in this line of the movie, you know the types of dreams they have of all types.
Right.
I'll just leave it at that.
Right. Absolutely. The other thing we see, there's a couple of those flashbacks of her as a child, and like one of them is when she was like clearly like molested by some older guy. And then right before she goes into the brothel, she has a flashback of refusing the communion when she's doing her first communion, it looks like. So again, it's that religious, it's that guilt that she
Catholic
has.
guilt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and sort of it's she's blaming she it looks as though as a child she blamed herself for what happened with this guy. And again, he's satirizing the church, like why would a
Hmm.
child feel that way? There's got to be something that's being taught.
Hmm.
So it's very interesting how he got those moments in there briefly, and but they speak volumes about like what's happened to her. And that's the thing with Bunuel. He really believed that who you are gets hammered into you at such a young age. I mean, in this case, it's her sexual desires. Like as a result of that, like she becomes a masochist, right? And so,
Yeah.
um,
And it speaks once again to the duality of being human. So you have this set up to be a good girl, as far as like you're a good Catholic girl. These are the things you're supposed to do. This is the way you carry yourself. And anytime you buck against those things that are expected of you, it's shameful, it's bad, it's something to feel guilty about. And as a adult, you learn to carry those things secretly. They live in your fantasies, they live in your dreams. And then your exterior becomes that, once again, prim and proper person that the exterior world gets to see, that, attracts someone of a certain class or a certain wealth status. And the dark side of you, the other side of you never goes away.
right, right,
So that's kind of like what she represents. And I think what we saw in those flashbacks was the kind of origin of, well, here's this good light side, and here's the rebellion. The rebellion of the communion becomes a rebellion of the brothel throughout the movie. It's
right,
just a rebellion against social decorum.
yeah.
And we see it at all stages of her life. Some of them are public, some of them become more private, some of them just exist in her mind.
Mm. Yeah, very well said. And it's interesting because even as she begins to get comfortable going to the brothel and used to it and embracing it, she says to her husband like that she feels closer to him, and
Hmm.
so it's like it's very interesting as she's stepping more into who she is, that makes her feel closer to him. But he doesn't seem to know how to deal, like there's the separate beds for one thing. She gets into bed with him and he's everything, he can't just sort of like uh be happy with that beautiful moment. That's
Yeah.
it's sort of like he's talking about, well, we should be doing this, we should be having a baby, we should, so it's very interesting to me, like he just doesn't know how to accept her and on any level.
Yeah. It's almost like wanting to accept the good side, the good side of a person, the light side, as the case
Yeah,
may be. And well, you shouldn't have a dark side. You
right,
shouldn't have a rebellious side. You shouldn't, even though he was at the time unaware of it, you shouldn't be feeling closer to me when you're doing things that are societally like a wrong thing.
right,
It shouldn't be bringing you closer to me. Once again, all this supports why I think the whole thing is one big fantasy of hers, because there's even guilt in that. I'm becoming more comfortable with this role of a prostitute, and it's bringing me closer to my husband because I feel more complete.
right, yeah,
But
yeah, yeah,
at the
exactly,
same
yeah,
time, he's wanting just the good of me. He just wants me to be a good wife. Now he wants me to be a good mother, and that's not all of me.
right.
That's not all of me that's being represented. It's a beautiful look at the duality.
Yeah. Yeah, and you wonder what he knows or what he's suspicious of about where, or is
Hmm.
he totally oblivious to what she's up to? Again, it's ambiguous because it's totally from her point of view, so we never really know.
Yeah. There's really there's no clear line between where reality ends
Right.
and the fantasy, whether it's dreams, daydreams, or whatever, begins.
Yeah.
But, there, as you look at it more and more, once again, speaking to the cinematographer, you kind of get clues. Look at it again and just look for when focus starts to get soft. We see it in the beginning with the carriage ride turning into the beating in the forest and all that, but there's almost like a softer focus to the way it's shot. And I caught it this time, but I'd heard about it and read about it before. But the camera just shoots in kind of like a softer focus. There's more dissolves going on in between shots, and it's almost like you're inside her world, you're in reality, back and
Mm,
forth.
mm.
So I just for listeners, as you watch this again, just pick up on that, and it's almost like giving us hints to when we're making that transition. But I still debate that the whole thing is one fantasy.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Um, any final words on Belle de Jour that you have?
Uh, Great movie. Still one of my favorite Buñuel movies.
Me too.
If you haven't experienced any of his movies, this is a great, I'll say, great entry drug. Um, Definitely blurs the line between sex and love, reality and fantasy. And I love the way, just overall as a director, Buñuel plays with surrealism. And
Mm,
this is a great example of it.
yeah, well said. Can you talk a little bit about KB Loves Movies and where people can find your
Yeah.
channel?
KB loves movies. Do a Google search wherever I am. That's where you'll find me. Most of the time, it's through my YouTube channel. And also, I have an audio only podcast. I actually have two. I should bring up the center seat more, but that's kind of like when I co-host my friend when we feel like talking movies. So there's no schedule to it. But the main thing is, as Robert has experienced, is the conversation. I'm a movie lover. I love speaking movies and talking with other movie lovers. So we have conversations. They always end with the five takes. If you don't know what that is, check out one of the conversations. Check out Robert's. As he mentioned, the link is down below, and you could see what the conversation is all about.
Fantastic. And if people want to follow you on social media, where's the best place for them to go?
I live on Instagram. Pretty much every day I'm doing some type of interaction, a story, a post, some sort. I have pictures from Panic Fest 2026, which just ended here in North Kansas City. Got an opportunity to see some great horror, sci-fi, and thrillers, and one over-the-top martial arts action-packed movie called The Furious that's coming out from Lionsgate. Yeah, so best place would probably be Instagram. That's if you want to get in contact with me, follow me there, but also follow the YouTube channel for future videos and live streams.
Great, fantastic. And again, the links to follow KB will be in the description box below. So KB, thanks again for coming on. It's great to have you, and I hope you can come again sometime down the road.
I would love it. I'm always up for talking movies with a great movie lover like yourself.
Thanks, KB. And those
Thank
of you
you.
watching at home, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you all in the next episode. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. If this is your first time here, please consider subscribing by pressing the Robert Bellissimo at the Movies logo. You will see it floating above my head in the top left corner to your top left. In just a second, just click on that and then click the bell in order to get a notification every time I release one of my new episodes. It is absolutely free to subscribe. I want to thank all of my members on Patreon. If you are interested in becoming a member of my Patreon, I'd really appreciate the support. Please go to patreon.com/Robert Bellissimo at the Movies for full details. Thank you again, everyone, for watching, and I will see you all in the next episode.